Good morning. Today's shave is featuring a new brush knot for me and a new handle. This is one from Craving Shaving, and I really like these huge ergonomic handles. That I've got big hands, and so it just so far I've had one other of these, maybe not this big, but I've really enjoyed it a whole lot. And because I'm a bowl latherer, and so the space here gives plenty of room for the soap to get up this far without making my grip slippery or anything like that. This knot has been warmed up, as you can see. I've done kind of a couple of practice lathers with it, as you might be able to see from some soap stains. But it's the new Maggard Ultra High Density, or Super High Density. SHD is kind of how it's being called. And it is a bulb, more of a bulb type shape, not the fan. I find that I usually like the bulb better. And so we're going to put it through its paces today at its first real shave. It did pretty well the first on the practice lather. As usual, the concern with such dense knots is the backbone. For me, does it push my skin, when I'm shaving, and that makes me kind of an uncomfortable feel. If I could go in circles because maybe I didn't have a goatee, it might be different. All right, the post-shave, a little bit of citrus because we've got a little bit of citrus in the soap, and I kind of just felt like using this today. The razor we're going to use is this vintage Gillette, and this is a new vintage Gillette new. And because it doesn't have that speed bump, round kind of ridge bump going along the bottom here, we know that it's a deluxe version of the Gillette new. This is the 17mm variety, and it comes apart like this. The base plate is permanently on the handle. All right. What blade are we going to put in there? I'm keeping on with my Nacet. Nacet is going to play nicely with this razor, but we'll see. It did well with my flat bottom new. Now this one, is this a UK? Nope, this is USA. Flat bottom new is UK. All right. And so I'm going to put my Nacet in there. There's my X, or the remnants of it. That's what I'm putting at the bottom every time I mount this razor, just kind of for an experiment. For later on, when I retire it, I'm going to switch, shave with the opposite side and see if there's any difference at all. All right, so we're locked in. This has this great rail going down on the underside of the top cap that keeps the blade perfectly aligned all the time. No need to adjust. Today's soap is with Stirling. Used that yesterday. It's a sandalwood sample that I had. This is a new one I've got. Got it as part of a lot sale. And I did try a sample of this way back along the same time frame as when I tried that sandalwood sample from the last shave. And it was a little too pungent, a little too acrid almost, but just really punchy, like a high citrus or mint or something like that. It was more citrus than mint. And so I'm going to try it again before I sell it, for instance, if it happens to disagree with me the same as it did a couple of years ago. The scent notes on it are very few. It's a simple one. Baker Street is also very popular with the Strop Shop is a company that no longer exists in production, but they put out something called Baker Street, and it was very popular with a lot of people. I believe Stirling may have been given the recipe or permission to pick that up and move along with it, and so that may be kind of what we have today. The notes on it, and I believe the kicker, the one that maybe bothers me the most, is most kind of pungent, is juniper. It's also got bergamot, jasmine, and patchouli. Now, patchouli is usually in the lower area because it's smoother. It's not pungent. It's not a high scent. And so a lot of times it's something that anchors other scents. And so it's used that way a lot in shaving soaps. The jasmine, I don't really pick up a high floral on this one, so maybe it's just a supporting character. The bergamot, I don't know if it is with the juniper in that really pungent note. I don't know if the bergamot is in the orange family. It's either made from like the wood of the orange tree or the something like that. It's in a lot of soaps because it's really nice. I have liked it in many soaps, and so I think that most of what I don't like with this soap might be with the juniper. So let's take a look at that. Juniper, bergamot, jasmine, and patchouli. So, you know what? With patchouli, I don't know if patchouli is a wooden accord. I was almost going to say this is a fougere. This might be a fougere because fougeres have a woody accord with some maybe florals and other greenery type things on top. But I don't think patchouli is really a wood. All right, let me pause you while I splash my face with some water, and we'll get busy. All right, face is wet. Here's the brush. Shake out a lot of the water is my technique. You may find something better for you, and that's all right. Matter of fact, there's something called a Marko Method. Here's the soap. We'll go ahead and start with 30. 16 just started, so we'll go to 46. Marko Method usually indicates that you come at the soap with a very wet brush and stuff just spills over, and you kind of gently go over the soap kind of with the tips of your brush, and then you can watch it change from the frothy stuff into something nicer. People say that it's not a waster of soap. So there's 30 seconds. And I did use this for the practice lather, so this wasn't a dry puck. It was just damp, but I didn't bloom it or anything like that. All right, let me clean this puck up a little bit. All right, so here we go. 3D printable bowl. You can get to the link if you have access to a 3D printer. In the description, it's got a link to get the files if you want. So in my practice lather, this brush was not giving me super soft tips. It was giving me, medium backbone. Because of the density, it can translate into more backbone than that sometimes. I am curious if these tips are going to gel, because that's going to make a big difference. Now with Stirling, yesterday I used a little bit more than a quarter teaspoon of soap, and I used 5 teaspoons of water. So I just went ahead and shot it with 2 teaspoons without any worry about that. So yeah, man, I look at this handle. It's easy to hold. I like it a lot. So yeah, that pungent kind of note, zesty is maybe another word for it, is coming right up to my nose. Now we will refill, and let's put in another teaspoon. So we've got 3 in there now. It will get kind of soupy at first here as that water starts to integrate, and then the water will start climbing up into the brush where the soap is, start mixing, and then we'll get an increase in volume. I like the thing about Craving Shaving because he does offer some synthetic knots and maybe something natural like a badger, but he gives you pricing for handle only, and that's what I like, because I almost always have a knot that I have ready for a brush. And I'm getting to the end. I'm kind of trying out most of the knots that I want to try out. Yeah, just zesty. It is a good morning type scent. So it works out that I'm not doing my usual night shave today. So what I am waiting on now, I'm watching it thicken. Since I added the water in kind of a larger amount than usual, it's going to grow in a different way. It's going to start kind of soupy and then thicken as we go here. And I learned yesterday with Stirling and the sandalwood that I had, Stirling is wonderful. See, now there we go. See, it's already looking great. Let's gather it all together in the bottom here and then kind of pull up. See what kind of, yeah, nice elasticity there. Now I believe Stirling can go a little further with that. So let us put in, at this point I am going to only add water in half teaspoon increments because I don't want to overdo it and get into the realm of non-creamy. Stirling is so awesome because so many soaps, when you push them to a really hydrated, elastic state, they stop being creamy and they start being thin, and they're often usable, but not in a way like soaps like Stirling are. This can get really elastic and wet and still be a joy and a creamy, luxurious feel to use. Definitely. My face is also clean this time, just took a shower, and so I'm not going to have to deal with any problems relating to oils on my skin, like maybe a slightly inferior feel on that first lather, on the first pass. Looking good. So now we've got 4 teaspoons in it. Might even take another half. Let's just take a look at this. Looks terrific. Yeah, see how stringy that was? See how elastic? It just kind of dripped down instead of going down in a big baseball-sized glob. Just stretches. All right, I'm going to mix this for just a little while longer, just to kind of integrate it. Make sure that we don't have any wet spots that just haven't been mixed through yet. Looks great. Yeah, I think I'm probably going to like other scents better than this. I often don't go for the zesty type scents, but it is less pungent than I remember. And so I could definitely see why a lot of people use it, especially morning shavers. I mean, it would just be perfect for that, right? Look at that. It collapsed easily under its own weight. I think this is just right. All right. So, time for a little bit more water on my face to go with that lather that's coming up. The razor's loaded. All right. So, first real shave with this knot. A lot of density. Now I'm able to go in circles really comfortably. Seems like it's splaying in a small way. Yeah, it's splaying a little bit. Sometimes when you're scrubbing this way, in more of a scrubby motion, and you feel like you need more lather, if it's gathering around the bottom, obviously you can pick it up with your fingers, kind of like that. But another thing to do is switch to painting, and that can help you get the stuff off the sides onto your face. It's not really shoving my skin around too much, just a little bit. And actually, this does feel, I may want to add just a little bit more water. With these dense knots, it's possible that it can take a while. See, that's why I don't face lather. If you're a frequent watcher of mine, you've heard me say that so many times. You'll sprinkle water into the knot and then it just kind of flows right out the next time you flick it, or it comes out the handle near the base of the knot. Well, it's one of the reasons I don't face lather. Switch to the painting motion, get some of that lather from the side. And I like the bulb shape because I'm able to lay down a little bit thicker lather. Not thick by any means, but it's not thin. A lot of times the fan and the other type knots don't let me do that. All right. Well, it felt pretty good. Not super soft like the tips on a declaration knot, like a B5, one of my favorite ones, but still nice. And who knows, sometimes a knot that's going to get gel tips doesn't get it right away. It takes a few shaves. I kind of hope this doesn't, because I don't really like the gel tips. All right. We'll see how this new, hey, it looks like it can handle the Nacet. The Sheraton is my usual go-to, but this guy's probably just as comfortable as my Sheraton. So that is very nice. Just a little bit of tugging, but really not very much. For 153 shaves, that's commendable. And we're really looking at about 24 hours of growth, so it's a kind of a standard growth rate, or a standard length for my beard. All right, very nice, and I guarantee you the next two passes are going to be even better. I added another half teaspoon because I did feel like that lather could use just a little bit more hydration. And take a look at it in the bowl. Look how the shape, it's really more of just a light bulb. It doesn't have a bunch of contours and things like that. Very elastic. And I had a wonderful, luxurious pass as I rinsed just now. Matter of fact, I've got so much, it's dripping out. Just don't have any extra water in my goatee. Matter of fact, yeah, I may not want to go any wetter than this, just for the inconvenience of having soap fly everywhere. Don't really need to do any more scrubbing because I did that on the first pass. So I'm going to switch quickly to just the laying down of the thin layer with the painting strokes. There we go. Lather everywhere. With this brush, I did not have to lather load for this long, I believe. We'll see how much soap is left at the end. Cross grain now on my cheeks. My growth goes from up to down, and so sideways is cross grain. Very comfortable. I do feel the edge, but it feels predictable, safe, just feels like a good shave. With this old blade, I do have to buff a little bit more, which means going over a certain area a couple times. And with a nice soap like Stirling, it's not going to be a problem. There are some soaps where if you go over an area, you want to reapply the lather before you do it again because the performance is just not built to do that. But Stirling is just super slick. Now this is a cross grain pass for this section here because the hair kind of goes that way. So sometimes cross grain does not always mean east to west, of course. Since the hair goes east to west, then that means north-south is cross grain, basically. All right, very good, quick pass. All right, now the third pass. Well, I'm happy with this knot so far. Seems to be comfortable. The softness of the tips is, nowhere near like a Declaration B5. And I'm saying that because a lot of people are saying that this knot is, one way to kind of get the performance of maybe a Declaration brush, these, high density brushes, without paying quite as much. And so that's why I'm bringing that comparison up. The tips are right now for this first use. It's no comparison. They're just not nearly as soft. But if it gels, then obviously that could change. All right, feels great on the face. It's definitely not as pungent. It's not as strong and kind of zesty, like a bitter orange peel, is, but it's not an orange. Definitely not. I think it's that juniper. But when lathered, right now I'm not getting that same punch, so that's good, and it's actually kind of pleasant. Yeah, very pleasant, just kind of a fresh, almost outdoorsy kind. So maybe maybe the juniper's backing off a little bit and some of the bergamot is coming in and maybe smoothed out with some of the jasmine. I don't really detect any patchouli. It's very light right now. I would say maybe a 4 out of 10, maybe a 3 for me, 4 for other people, maybe. Nice, easy shaving. And now I'm going to pull just a little bit. You don't want to overstretch to get this little trick spot right here that often will give me irritation. And I'm going the other direction in terms of that cross grain. Now I'll switch back to my usual pattern of from the bottom up to get kind of the borderline here. Really slick soap. I'm getting tons of glide with the razor. Nice movement. Very protected because of the soap. And so that really helps the blade to do its job and not irritate you. And there we go. Good 3-passer. It's warm down here. I think I'm sweating a little bit. All right, let me rinse. Well, I'll tell you what, I got a great comfortable shave, but I have pretty bad down here in terms of closeness. It's just not very well done. So we do have plenty of lather. Let's just kind of redo that. Splash a little water on it. So maybe this particular razor, the geometry is such that it's a little harder with this blade to get that closeness. I don't know. All right, I'm going to remember to keep a light touch. I'm holding it kind of like a pencil in the center so that the head can just lightly move over the surface, lightly move across the skin. And that's going to be it. All right. And so that did a good job on some of the hairs. But It looks like this is, the Nacet is just going to be a comfortable blade for this razor, but it's not going to be as efficient at cutting as the Sheraton is. So it can be used, but I should not expect quite the quality that I usually get. And just to notice, so we're at 153 now. I have long since believed that when this blade becomes unusable, it's not going to be because it is causing irritation. Because it just seems like that's I get less and less irritation as we go. Let's just kind of see how that goes by putting on an alcohol splash. This is from Barrister and Mann. And I showed it to you earlier, but let's do the close-up. South Florida wet shavers, special edition for them maybe. I think. And so yesterday I put on an alcohol splash, and the blade treated me really well, and I got virtually no stinging. I'm getting just a tiny bit, kind of around here. Now it's almost all gone. Well, I tell you what, I really like the way this plays nicely with the Baker Street. I think it's a really good companion to that. Yeah, very nice. It was a light scent, the soap was, and so you can kind of put anything with it, and so I don't think it's going to interfere too much. But then when I go back after putting on the aftershave and I smell the soap and they still agree, then you know that it's a good match regardless of the strength of the soap. So I was really happy to see that the Baker Street was it was strong enough to smell and enjoy during the shave, but that punch that I didn't like when maybe I smell it right from the tub, that's muted because when it becomes in lather, when it gets into lather form. So I'm really happy about that. And I can see why people like it. It's just a nice all-around scent, a very well blended, and it's neat that it's just a few ingredients. So well done. I'll keep that around, use it a little bit more, especially if I have to do daytime shaves. But to tell you the truth, it'd be fine at nighttime because the punch there is a little muted, and so that's a good revelation for this shave. And I learned that the Deluxe, the new Deluxe, while it was comfortable using the Nacet blade, it was not all that efficient in my trouble spot. And a lot of razors and combination blades are that way, and so in a sense it's in the majority, but this blade still, like yesterday for instance, gave me a better shave right here with the other razor. All right, I ended up using almost 5 teaspoons again, and how much lather did I have extra? Probably another 3 passes. Another thing that's talked about sometimes with brushes, are they a lather hog? Because see, all the lather that's on the side here can kind of be put on the face without too much difficulty. But what's inside the brush? Yeah, that's definitely 3 passes of lather left over there. But what's inside the brush? So let's see. I mean, to me, that's just not any more than any other brush. And so I don't think, to me, it's not really much of a lather hog. That's just kind of a normal amount. You could use that for your last pass if you ever needed to. So there we go. Happy with the brush so far. Going to watch it grow as I keep using it. I'm happy with the backbone. It seems to have some backbone because of the density of the knot. Let me sling it out so you can kind of get a better picture of it. It's not quite all the way cleaned out. You can kind of see a little bit of it. And that's the issue with these dense knots here. They take a little bit more time to clean out because there's just so many more hairs and more places for soap to be. But the density gave it some backbone, but it still managed to open up enough to where I can move it around on my face in splay without a lot of effort. And I can't do that with that Manchurian from Elite Razors that I've used several times on my channel. And so to me, it's a direct competitor with that Manchurian. The look of it, the density of it, but this is the one you want if you want a little bit less backbone than that Manchurian. Right now they have similar tips, and so I'm interested if these tips don't hook or gel or anything like that, then I imagine the tips are going to be similar. I think these are just a little softer. I don't mind the Manchurian tips; they're okay, but I definitely like the backbone of this one better. I mounted it myself with silicone, but I wanted to mount it fairly shallow because I knew this density was going to provide some backbone. And so what I did was I went out and bought some plastic washers at the home improvement store. It took 3 of them, almost like 3/4 stacked on top of each other. And I siliconed between each one, like sandwiches. And then I siliconed the top of and then I let that dry for several hours. And then I attached the brush knot. And basically the brush knot is right up to the top of the thing almost, maybe a little bit down, because I wanted it to be able to open up as much as it could to relieve some of that density in the center. I'm really happy I did that. I don't know if I've done a razor tour of this razor. Why don't we do that right quick? If you are good for today's shave and you don't need a razor tour of this particular one, then it's been good having you. Take care. So we have the bottom knob here with this awesome texturing. Look at that. And then it just comes out, and there's the threaded part there. Oh, and yes, you notice that it is hollow, and it's brass. It's going to be plated brass. So we'll take our razor blade off very gently. And then this is in great condition underneath here. The brass is not going to, corrode or anything like that in general, as long as you maintain it reasonably well. And it's obvious that this one has been. The top may need a little bit of polish, but before you use any kind of polish, do some research on your models, because there are a few that just kind of have a gold wash over them, and any kind of abrasive polish can just wipe that away. So there are just a few of those, but it's worth doing your research first. Okay, so then here's that rail I was talking about. And it goes all the way across, and that holds that blade exactly centered. So that means that the bottom plate here has to have a receiving groove for that rail. And then if you measure from the solid part to the other end of the solid part, that's how you can tell is if this is the 15 or the 17 millimeter version. And again, there's that lovely pattern on the handle. And these teeth are kind of thick, which is great, especially these corner ones. If you drop it, you're less likely to bend them, have it alter the shave a little bit. This one, yeah, does appear to have a small serial number etched right there, so you could use that to look it up, find out the year it was made, that sort of thing. This one has the Made in the USA on this side and the Gillette Diamond logo on the other side. But it's a solid, flat bottom. Very nice shaver. I've enjoyed using that several times. So there's a razor tour. I told you about the soap left over, the water left over. I'm just going to I got to clean that brush a little bit more. And really liking this splash. The irritation that I felt after the splash was applied only lasted a very short time. I don't feel any irritation right now. I don't really see any redness of consequence. Just have a great shave. So there we go. Hope there was something in here in this shave for you. You take care. This is Sugar Daddy Shave. Bye.